This episode may contain graphic language and descriptions, nicotine use, and may not be suitable for younger audiences. Opinions expressed in this episode are of the minds and experiences of the participants and do not represent those of any other people, organizations, groups, or recovery-based fellowships that may be mentioned. We speak only for ourselves.
God bless you. We love you, and we hope you hear something that helps you. Thanks for listening. We're gonna go. Oh,
Peeling onions on the couch.
Oh, they're gonna see how much of a junkie I look like.
Peeling onions on the couch.
All right, so for everybody that's watching, I look like, I don't know if they can see from back there, but I look like I just got done
a meth binge.
Yeah, completely fucking my shit up for like ever on the Ave. But I just got bit by a bunch of like no-see-em mosquitoes down on the bay in New Jersey. And yeah, the sweet ginger ale blood that I have, I guess.
No-see-em mosquitoes, huh?
Yeah, they're bad, dude. They're really bad. We are back to Peelin' Onions. Search Peelin' Onions on all of your social networks. Peelin' Onions Pod on Instagram. And like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening on any of the podcast networks, Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other ones, I don't know what other ones there are. Leave a rating, share the show, do whatever. We could just use some support to help us out.
Hell yeah. Yeah, welcome to anybody that's new to watching or not new to watching. We're really, really glad to have you. And hopefully we can, peel some shit back and laugh a little and, I don't know, like talk about something useful. And like Jeremy just said, if there's ever anything that we can hit on or that you're passionate about or just think would make good content, let us know.
Yeah, if you want to, you can message us on any of the social networks that I mentioned on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Or you can comment on the YouTube channel. Excuse me. If there's like a topic you want us to cover or whatever, just shoot it over. Let us know. We'll hit it.
Dude, I just want to thank you for having this session on a couch. I am so comfortable right now. Yeah. I do have amazing posture in the chairs, but I am so fucking comfortable.
Yeah, you're very uppity in the chairs.
Yep.
You kind of look like you kind of sit like a kid I would have made fun of in like 3rd grade.
Pencil between the shoulder blades, bro.
Is that what it is?
Good posture.
Nah, dude, that's a lot of tension back there. That doesn't feel good. Like this? No.
Pencil,
that hurts.
Chest out, pencil between the shoulder blades.
A pencil, bro. You know how thin a pencil is? Yeah. Yo, maybe I'm just fat. Because that feels weird to me. Yeah. I can stick out my shoulder blades and probably do it. But that's about it. So we are with a new setup. We're just trying something out because the wife had a random inspiration of home rearranging, as one does, and she just decided to move absolutely everything around.
Looks fantastic, and yeah, man, I really like it.
This is our wall. Our wall has always been like this, but you weren't able to see it. Where we're sitting is actually like right to my left. Right here is where the cat tree was. So like, you guys were looking this way from over there. Yeah, new shit.
So I'm gonna start off the sports segment.
Oh shit!
Have you been watching any of the NBA finals?
No, but I do know what's going on, and I know it's wild.
It's been good, man.
I definitely know it shouldn't be. There probably shouldn't have even been a game 6, from what I can gather. Like, it probably should have just been like a gentleman's sweep in 5.
Dude, they keep doing like the and I don't know like 7-game series in certain sports. I don't think hockey's like this because playoff hockey is sick, but yeah, it's kind of looking like one team shows up, kicks the other's ass. Mm-hmm. then they suck the next game, then the other team sucks the next game. So, dude, it's been like a shootout. Game 7 will be in OKC.
But I thought, I'm sorry, I can't say I thought I didn't watch it. I heard that OKC got kind of like routed in the game last night.
They
like,
got
everybody's saying it really wasn't close at all.
So it was not close at all.
And what's his name is on like a strained calf? Halliburton.
Yep, Halliburton. Right? Yep. So what surprised me, just as like a mini stat, because of how high scoring and just action packed these games are, is I watched mostly like the end of the second quarter all the way through the second half. OKC, with their starters on the floor, did not score for the first 5 minutes and 15 seconds of the fourth quarter.
That's a long time in a basketball game.
I was counting, dude. I kept saying to Lauren, I was like, they haven't scored in 3 minutes. It's been 3 minutes and 20 seconds. What is it? Dude, just play after play. It was nuts. They got romped. They did.
What else did I hear? A good amount of steals from Halliburton, at least.
Yep.
Were there more just in general?
So the OKC did turn it over a lot.
A lot of dispossessions and turnovers.
But I'm psyched for Game 7, man. I feel like it could go either way.
It's
so
Indiana too, right?
No, OKC.
Is it really?
It is. It is.
Shit.
So here's kind of something my dad told me that messed me up. So I thought that both teams, the Pacers and OKC, had never won a title. But my dad, being the sports trivia history whiz that he is, says, no, before the ABA, American Basketball Association, which used to be before the NBA, before they combined with and became the NBA, in the 10 years prior to that, the Pacers won 3 titles. And I was like, well, you just fucked up my whole thing.
How long ago is that, though?
It was back in, like, I want to say the 70s, maybe the 80s.
That's not that old.
But still, they've won 3 times.
But, like, so does that mean that, like, the Eagles actually have, like, actually won a Super Bowl before the 2017 season? Because they won a championship before it was the Lombardi Trophy, wasn't it?
I think you're
Before
right.
It was a Super Bowl.
I think you're right.
So does that mean that they won, like they never won a Super Bowl? The Pacers had never won an NBA championship.
Yes.
It's the same thing.
They've won an ABA championship. It is. But it still messed me up a little bit because, like, OKC goes all the way back to the Seattle Supersonics.
Okay.
And they never won anything. So, like, they're kind of higher on that list, but I like the Pacers team better.
So the Supersonics haven't been a thing since OKC has been a thing?
Yeah, and that's been... I remember a couple players from Seattle when I was a kid. I remember having Sean Kemp's basketball shoes.
I'm not going to be able to contribute anything to this. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's been good, man. I want to see Indiana win though.
It sounds sick. I just can't get into it. I love
know.
the drama, but like if I saw a game like that, I would be into it.
See, I get bummed out. I get a little resentful at the game that watching regular season basketball is just not that good. And you have to wait until the playoffs and the finals for them to play defense.
Well, not to mention, like, from what I hear, the league is at, like, almost an all-time worst.
I've heard that.
There's nearly, like, a double-digit amount of teams that are basically tanking and just, like, shitting the fucking bed. Like, you could probably play, like, 500 for the whole fucking season and end up in like a pretty good spot.
Well, especially so that is true, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But dude, like 10 teams from each conference get in the playoffs. So
That's too many.
So That's 8 teams get in automatically. Seeds 9 and 10 from the East and West Conference do what's called the play-in tournament.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
And I think that's kind of lame.
I also think it's lame.
do. So you got 20 playoff teams,
right?
But yeah, I don't really know why the league's doing so bad. I just know that playoff hockey. I mean, I know you love regular season hockey, but
yes,
we're sort of the same on this. So like the years that I've watched playoff hockey, it is so fucking exciting.
Yeah, this year was crazy. This year was really cool. A good amount of game 7s. I don't think as much as last year. But
Dude, I wonder how my mom's doing down in Florida with this Florida Panthers action, dude.
Oh, they're probably elated.
Like so she has been in Florida in South Florida for since 2005.
Okay.
That is 20 years.
Yeah.
What are the rules on that when you are What are the rules on that when you are a devout Philly fan your whole life and you move down to Florida when you're 50?
Right.
And now your team is finally kicking ass the last couple of years. Like, are you allowed to like creep into like the Florida Panthers fanhood and abandon the Flyers? Like, how does that work? What is the time cutoff for that? Because I see her post some shit and I always just like, I'll call her and be like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you ride and die with those lowly Flyers, Mom.
I don't know, man, because like, I don't know. In my opinion, dude, like having, even though I've never experienced it, having I mean, I've experienced when we had a good hockey team, but like having a good hockey team is like, has just like this weird, different kind of attractive swagger to it. Kind of like how having like a good baseball team kind of fixes everything. You know what I mean? Like it's always a perfect fallback. And like we have the Eagles, right? But the Eagles don't pop into my mind that much when the Phillies are doing bad. Like I get sad when the Phillies are doing bad. But when the Eagles are doing bad, I kind of just end up remembering that we have the Phillies anyway for some reason. But it doesn't do that vice versa in my head. But I don't know, dude. Especially like the fact that the Panthers repeat as well. They probably don't get there if they don't make like the deadline acquisitions that they made.
Did they sweep or was it 4-1?
No, it was game 6. Yeah.
So it was 4-2.
4-2, yeah.
Wow.
But like, bro, Edmonton just, nobody was at roll call that game, dude. Absolutely dominated. Like a absolutely pathetic showing.
Dude, I
Edmonton.
hate when that happens.
Except for when it's us in the Super Bowl. And that's what it was like, honestly.
See, but that's one game where it's just for blood, win all, go home, one game.
That's true.
You know, like you better bring your A game.
Does that make it worse though? If it's only one game and you do that?
I guess it does, because you don't get to show like that you're at that caliber. So like I can only think of a couple Super Bowls. I can think of a few. So I can think of a Super Bowl between the last time, I can't give you years, but who's the quarterback in the league that everybody turned on when he went into the activism for the 49ers?
Oh, Kaepernick.
I remember Kaepernick being in the Super Bowl, and I think they got like absolutely stomped.
Probably.
And everybody was
like,
upset.
He's just not. I don't ever remember him. I think that's before like my football fandom is what it is now.
Yeah.
But I don't ever remember him being like groundbreaking. Like it's easy to forget how good Cam Newton was.
Yep.
Cam Newton was really good.
He was.
But like Kaepernick, just like from what I remember, was just always like kind of underwhelming, and is kind of what made his activism more cringe in my mind.
Yeah, he definitely didn't have like the dominance. It seemed like kind of a short-lived thing to me, and I don't know if it's just I didn't watch enough of them.
Yeah, again, I could be totally wrong.
But the other Super Bowl I can remember over the last couple of years. Do you remember Brady's last win with the Patriots over the Rams? I think the final score was like
they routed that one.
The final score was
one at some point.
So no, that was the Falcons.
Okay,
that was when I quit smoking for the first time. They were down 24-0 at halftime.
That's right, and they came back. Right,
and I completely lost my shit for no reason at all. not even my team. And Lauren's like, what is wrong with you?
Wait,
I'm
you were
like,
losing your shit because they were losing.
they
so bad?
won. No, they won.
Oh, because they won.
And I was
I
like,
would have lost my shit too.
I was like, only that fucking coach and quarterback. Like, it's not fair. And
Yeah.
Lauren's like, what is wrong with you?
Part of Deflategate.
Yeah, but not that one. It was I think it was his last one with the Patriots over the Rams. It was a very boring Super Bowl.
Oh, boring.
The Rams just did not show up at all. Like, kind of to your point of like I'm not gonna say they got stomped. Offensively, they just never showed up.
Yeah, yeah, Edmonton fucking blew chunks. They were bad. And, like, they went back with this starting goaltender who, like, everybody is saying should have started the game, but their backup came in and, like, bailed them out at some point in the playoffs and went 7-0 in the fucking playoffs. Now, like, was he a stone wall and, like, shut out every game? Like, no. But he was way more reliable than the starter that they had. And they just decide to put in the goaltender that has, like, you have A and B. A has shown you a lot of promise in the playoffs, especially recently. 7 games worth, by the way. And this is like a win or go home. You win or go home this game. In Florida as well. And you go with this other dude who has a history of blowing it and is incredibly shaky. Like, he's...
Yeah,
know,
dude, in the Stanley Cup, I'm going with best man's plan. That's just me though. I ain't no coach, but best man for the job.
For me, dude, with goaltenders, it's like it's riding a hot hand. And, like, sure, is it like you could have that debate of, like, is it going to be, is this the game that the hot hand is going to finally go cold? But it's like, homie has given you 7 wins in the playoffs. Like, put him out there. And he hadn't played in, like, the last 2 games. Maybe he came into relief in one, but it's not like he's tired. Like, just put him back out there. I don't know. The best player in the world, like, didn't really show up in the series. Neither did the second best in Draisaitl, but he had, like, a couple, like, overtime goals, and he basically carried them all season anyway. So, like, it was, yeah, the Panthers just absolutely fucking dominated them. Absolutely. It was, like, I felt this way, and then afterwards, like, all the sports shows are, like, saying the same thing, where I actually had, like pity for the Oilers. It was so bad, dude. Like,
good for Florida though, man. Like, when's the last time a Florida sports team was good? Like, I could be way off on this because I don't follow their sports real well. We know that the Dolphins used to be good. That was years ago.
I feel like the Rays in, like, the last 10 years, but I could be tripping.
Maybe the Rays did win one.
Maybe, yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
But they're not doing too bad right now, actually.
Yeah, they're usually up there in the AL
It's
East.
trash, but their prospect pool in baseball is always just stacked for no reason.
Yeah, but good for Florida though, man. They needed one.
It's not easy to repeat, dude.
And I'm glad that it's gotten away from, like, the hockey giants. Like, I don't know a ton about hockey, but I can at least say, like, you know, the Bruins, the like all of the common
Like the original
winners.
6 teams.
Yeah.
Well, it's just good that it stayed out of Canada because I don't like Canada right now. Yeah, so that's about it.
Phil's Mets tonight.
Phil's and Mets tonight.
Tied in the series. Both teams, what, 50 and 30? 60 and 30?
What are you saying, dude?
What's their records?
They're like 40, 45 and 30 or something like that.
Okay, 45 and 30.
They're both tied on the season.
Yes.
To start the series.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the standings. Whatever they are, they're dead even.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
And it's all, I mean, you really want to win it, but at the same time, like, if you lose, you just can't get swept in my mind. Like, if we lose the series, I'll be upset, but if we win one game, like, you can't get swept again.
Mm-hmm.
You can't lose 6 games to the Mets, like, halfway through the season. You just can't do that. I will be heated.
Yeah, it's just sending you, like...
But I think there's a 0%. I think there's, like, a 15% chance that we don't win the series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we take it.
I do too, man. Like I think that's gonna go good, and like I know it's not momentum time yet. Like momentum time is like about a month or so, but maybe a little before that. But I would like to see him win the series.
Yeah, Mets pitching is like in free fall in a really bad spot. They are on a 5 or 6 game losing streak right now. Like the Braves swept them. And just they lost in, like I was telling you about the game last night where they walked in 2 consecutive runs and then gave up like a base clearing double play on like bases loaded with 2 outs. Like it's insane, dude. Or maybe that was I don't know. But I watched it happen and it was very fun to watch. I felt very blessed to see that moment.
Yeah, go Phils. Little update on my golf, my other higher power.
Oh shit.
I fucking suck.
JJ Spawn won the US Open.
That was incredible.
Did you see his last putt?
Yes.
Bro. How the fuck does that even happen, dude?
A guy like that whose stats prior to that win are terrible. Dude, his
especially in that tournament specifically, right? Or am I tripping?
No, just in general, dude. Like
okay.
So most of the guys that you see win a major. Now that is not just any major, dude. First of all, the US Open is the hardest test in golf.
Yeah, they kept saying.
Second of all, Oakmont, with what they do with that fucking rough,
it's like top 5 hardest courses in the entire world.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. So usually you will see a guy who has at least played well in big events or won before in that position. Dude, like his best tournament showing before that is like the Sony Open. What?
My entire like placement finisher parlays got cut. I didn't even fucking make it. Like Ludwig got cut. Shambo got cut. I think I had Fleetwood up there. He got cut. And I think Xander made the cut.
I think he did.
Yeah, I think Xander. He was the only one. Everybody else was gone. I had Bryson to finish top 5. I'm like, how fucking stupid am I, dude? I felt like a jackass.
You hear about what Wyndham Clark did to the locker room?
No.
So Wyndham Clark is known to be a little bit of a golf hothead.
Oh, no.
Wyndham Clark won the U.S. Open at L.A. Country Club, I want to say 2 years ago.
Okay.
He is on Full Swing, which is a golf documentary on Netflix. They have 3 seasons now. And he talks a lot about like anger and coaching and getting like a sports psychologist. Well, after he blew up and didn't make the cut at the U.S. Open, he went in and might have smashed some lockers.
Oh, shit.
They like took photos of it, and he had to like do like an apology for like his behavior.
Oh, I'm sure.
So yeah, he smashed up some lockers and really fucked up the clubhouse.
Whatever, dude.
But when you do that, so golf is such a like kind of historic thing that when you do that at these clubs, you're like kind of a big league douche to a lot of people.
That kind of sounds, I don't know if I'm about to use the wrong word. It sounds like antithetical.
Meaning like what?
Hold on. I'm gonna show humility live on the podcast because I say a lot of big words sometimes that feel like they're right contextually, but I don't ever know if I'm actually right in saying them. So I am right now, for the audio listeners, Googling antithetical as soon as I start. Directly opposed or contrasted. Mutually incompatible.
So you're saying like it doesn't really match up with golf?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah, dude.
So I kind of agree with like modern golf, because modern golf is kind of badass to me. But you know how golf like is a little bit hoity-toity historically.
It is for some reason like tennis is treated the same way, but like golf is the sport of class. Like in my opinion, that's what that is. And Like they whisper on air. Like who does that? Like it's weird. It's weird. They're going around like taking the same shears that my salon girl clips my hairs with to like the little roughs, going like this. And I just don't. But a sport that is so widely known as like a mind thing, I don't understand. Now, a time and a place, I guess, like that's where the fault is, but and especially at one of the hardest courses in the world, like at some point, like you just never think any of these guys are gonna blow up. Like it's dude, even Scotty Scheffler was showing fucking emotions,
Yep.
and he's a statue, bro.
He was.
Like it's like
You gotta let him. You gotta let him get out their athletic intensity sometimes.
Bro?
Yeah.
Like especially if you want to be a course that is hard by like, there's another word that I can't think of, but like that means that you also want to, by the same token, I guess is what I was thinking of. You also want to be a course that gets into players' heads, which means that like emotions come out, which means that some hothead is going to break something. So have a padded room, set up a puncher bag somewhere, like do something. If you are trying to give people emotions that could elicit that reaction, like you should have a safe space for that reaction.
So I love what you're saying because I don't like how classy golf can be sometimes. Yeah. I wasn't raised with it, and I'm not like I took up golf later in life, but like to your point about the classy, right? Whispering on air. One of my best friend's dads played with us every week for years. Nice. And he would take that whole silence thing very far.
Oh God.
Right? And like if you fucking moved your foot in his backswing, he would look back at you and just like stare a hole through you like fucking Cyclops.
I would not last with this guy.
And I would say his name was Garth, and I would say to him, Garth, how is it that in baseball a player can hit 100-mile-an-hour fastball with 40,000 screaming fans, and you can't hit a ball in the middle of the fucking woods if I fart by accident? Like, come on, dude.
That's funny. That's really funny.
It used to make me so mad.
That's funny. I like that.
Come on.
I feel like there's more. Flyers got some new assistant coaches. I don't really know dick about them, so that's whatever. NHL draft is a week away. I'm so excited. I'm so fucking excited.
A lot of picks, you said last time. A lot of first-round picks.
3 first-round picks and 4 second-round picks.
Yeah, you want to take a bet on our fandom, our opposing fandom for these upcoming seasons? So let's make a bet. I don't know how we'll have to do an honor system.
Okay.
I'll watch 20 Flyers games. You watch 20 Sixers games.
Oh, my God,
dude, that's a quarter of all the games. That's too much. I'll watch 10 Flyers games. You watch 10 Sixers games. Loser buys the other one a Nicky and Ant's pizza and cheesesteak.
Oh, dude, I'll do that.
Because, like, dude, we always talk about the Flyers.
Pizza's fire, by the way. Dude.
And I have nothing to add. And with basketball, you have nothing to add. So we got to change this. Let's take that bet.
I got stuff to add to the Sixers. They're fucking cooked, bro. Like I don't even. Like, I don't need to watch one game to know that.
So fair point. You're better at researching and being up to date on sports.
Well, I'm sick in the head.
You asked me who You asked me who a guy at our group was commenting on this. You when you talked about our new coach.
Yeah.
I was like, I have no fucking clue who that is. And the guy was like, I don't watch hockey and I know who that is. I have nothing to add.
Well, he was just like, he was a really famous player back in the day.
Yeah.
But,
all right. So 10 games.
I could do 10 games.
All right. I'll do 10 games
I can
too.
do 10 games. I can watch, see, I know like Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain. Jared McCain is like big on the TikTok. He does all the dances and shit, right? Mm-hmm. He's a little bit of a weirdo. He paints his nails. I don't like men painting their nails. I'll just come out and say it. I don't really think that's, I guess these days it's earth shattering. Somebody just hit a home run. And And I know Joel Embiid is melting before our very eyes. And Paul George is more interested in his podcast than he is in being a serviceable basketball player in Philadelphia.
Yep.
Because he was noticeably better before he came here. And everybody knows if we traded him, he would become that player again. What is it with this place? And I know Daryl Morey is basically running the team using an AI model. And he came out and said that. And that's fucking crazy.
I have seen Moneyball, dude. You know, don't
Moneyball's different, bro. Like Jacob
is.
Wilson, the shortstop for the Athletics, is Moneyball because he doesn't walk and he doesn't strike out. And like everyone is saying, like, oh, like that's not like you can't play baseball like that. And like, but the guy is the top ranked shortstop in baseball right now. He's a rookie and is leading all shortstops by like 50,000 all-star votes.
Is that
like,
the dude who you were telling me like a week or two ago had like an obscenely low amount of strikeouts?
Yes.
Wow.
He's a nut.
Yeah.
I picked him up from free agency in my fantasy league because some idiot dropped him.
How's your team doing?
I'm in third place right now, tied for third, I think. Or tied for second, maybe?
How many teams in the league?
10.
10, man.
And I'm playing... Right now I'm facing the... He's actually probably kicking my ass because he has that catcher I was telling you about. Right now I'm playing the first place guy. I'm the only one to give this guy a loss this season.
That dude had 2 home runs, so I can't imagine
Cal
how
Raleigh.
many.
He probably has like... I don't know. He probably has a hit too, so he has at least 12 points in this game, which is nuts. He has... he has 18 points as a batter.
I'm gonna get my iced tea.
That's retarded.
Hold on.
Yeah, do
Hold
your thing,
on.
dude. Do your thing. All right. I don't know how long you're talking about this. Okay, so real quick, the Union are still in first place. They are. They have a 2-game lead in the Eastern Conference, which is great. They have, I think, a half a game or a full game lead against the top team in the Western Conference. So we are the top team in the league right now and have been for a couple weeks now. And that is with a good amount of our top players away on international duty because international schedules run parallel with like normal league and club schedules. So you can have your best players out and you still gotta show up for the league.
Now, is that like other like country specific events?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like the what is it? The Gold Cup, I think, is going on right now. So like all of our American players are like going to America. Our goalkeepers like probably would go into like the MLS Hall of Fame if there is one. I don't even know if there is one for like goalies. And he's in Jamaica. He misses like so much time playing for Jamaica every year. Our leading goal scorer, who is the top goal scorer in the entire league, is Israeli, so he's playing for Israel. And yeah, everybody's just away.
That is crazy to me, as that does not happen in any other sport.
Mm-hmm. So it's the most popular sport in the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
And America, I think, will start to understand next year when the World Cup is here in America. Like, so I went to the link on Wednesday to watch Manchester City from the Premier League in Europe play I think the top team in, oh god, my geography's so bad. Morocco is in Africa, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. So it was a Moroccan team, but they're the top club in whatever their league is. And they were playing each other at the link. It's called a Club World Cup, where just all these top teams that qualified in like previous years somehow are playing in this tournament together in America. And so I went there with like, there's a bunch of like Manchester City fans, and there's this whole section. Maybe I could put the video in this part right here. But there's a whole section, a whole end zone fan section, where the Morocco fans bought out and they're just all going absolutely fucking nuts with their chants the whole time with the flags and everything. And that's just like a very, very small taste of like what is going to happen at the World Cup next year. Like, nobody here has any idea. If you watch soccer, you understand, but like some soccer stadiums in like, even in like North Korea and like Spain, hold like 100,000 people and will sell out. And like, it's no joke, dude. Like, the entire city is going to be taken over by a bunch of different fucking countries. It's going to be wild. Absolutely fucking crazy.
When's the last time it's been here?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't have that information. I don't know if it ever has been. But yeah, Union are killing it. Soccer world is strong right now. And if you're listening, there is a Philadelphia professional sports team in first place, killing it. Tune the fuck in, bro.
So watch them.
Lock in. Damn it. They have like local, like, there are kids from the Northeast fucking killing it in this league. Like, come on, dude. What up? Come on. All right. So, you think OKC wins?
I think it's anybody's game. I do want the Pacers.
It's so funny how before this was even like the series matchup, everybody was like OKC.
Mm-hmm.
OKC and SGA. Like, that's what it is.
They were favored. But dude, they just trade off like crazy. They trade off with the scoring, the turnovers, the defense. It is literally anybody's game.
Everybody said over in 5.
Yep.
Everybody, the last 2 games was like OKC.
I really liked how Halliburton rebounded last week. Like game 6, game 5, he embarrassed himself. He really did. He had 4 points in like 31 minutes. So, but yeah, it's gonna be exciting, man. It's definitely gonna be exciting.
Cool. Anything new going on that you want to talk about at least?
Not really, man. Just gearing up for a little travel finally. First trip of the year, OBX, July 17th.
Hell yeah. I've never been.
So OBX is awesome. The reason why our family started going there is because A, it's cheaper.
Nice.
B, you do not have to be as much on your shit to get a good rental. The Jersey and Ocean City, Maryland, dude, you got to book like pretty close to a year out. 9 months to a year out. OBX, you can
like a property rental?
Yeah, okay. like if you want to go in on like a property rental in a good area for the summer, you can't wait, dude.
So you'll go there like 3 or 4 times in the summer, or just once?
No, just once. So,
but your family goes quite a bit.
Yep.
Okay.
And you can get a spot on the beach. It's sick, like literally on the beach for like an extremely reasonable price.
Pretty tits.
You
dude.
get way more house for a really good price. You just have to be willing to drive like I guess with traffic and shit, it probably takes like 7 hours.
Or you could just choose your in-laws better and then you just get one.
Yeah. This is my only comment back to that.
Joanne's gonna listen to this, and I love you. There you go, Madeline's mom.
Better love her, dude. With this, with this beautiful house.
I spent a whole day putting together patio chairs in a garage by myself,
and got bit by the Omiso mosquitoes.
Oh, that happened just in like one day.
But yeah, congratulations to them, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
you know, house is done, and probably really excited.
2 weeks ago, I got rear-ended on 422 coming home from work. Just dropped it off yesterday. That's my fresh Toyota Corolla in the driveway out there. So, dude, it's funny because the guy wanted to try to handle it off the books when it happened to not go through insurance, and I understand that. But his offer was just like ridiculous. If he tried to like if he was like wealthy, try to write me a check for like 10 grand, I would have been like, yeah, sure. but he was like, yeah, so like if we're talking like he knocked out like a backup sensor. So like when I put my car in reverse, it just goes boop, and it just stays. Like that noise is just on the whole time. When normally it's like a proximity warning, you know? I was too afraid to open my trunk because it was probably going to get stuck, and the power lift gate was probably trashed. The whole entire bumper had to be replaced. You couldn't pop out any of the dents. Everything had to be replaced, repainted, new emblems put on, everything. And I know that because I have the estimate from the shop. He was like, look, man, like, I could probably source the parts myself for you. Say if it's more than like $1,500, like, then we'll go through insurance. I'm mildly concussed in the front of the car on the shoulder. And even I am like, bro, more than $1,500. Like you're looking at least like 3,000 in parts alone. And the parts total in the estimate that I just got today is $3,500. He was like more than $1,500. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Well, no, thank you. Like 1,000%, especially though, like you said, dude, like the sensors, like it's a different world.
Yeah, bro.
Like Lauren just
in the
got
electronics alone, we're probably talking at least $1,000.
Lauren just got a mirror replaced on the right side of her CRV.
Insane. They're insane.
They buy the mirror. There's just a small example to your point. They buy the mirror, they paint the mirror, then they get a person who calibrates the mirror to come to the body shop.
To the internal adjustments and shit. Yeah.
So exactly. That like you're not, you're not being told that you're about to hit shit when you're really like 10 feet away.
Right.
So like.
And the blind spot detection if she has that as well.
Yeah. Right. Like back in like the year 2005, I could maybe see like hey bro, you mind hooking me up?
Hey,
but
stick
like
one on there.
With how cars are, yeah. And like I was telling you when you first told me this, I think that's in some states illegal.
Probably.
So like there will be there's like some kind of insurance claims something that happens. Like I know in New Jersey it's considered a crime to not report an accident.
That would make sense.
So, but. How long did it take for like any like injuries, whiplash? Like I know you said you got a concussion.
It was like a few days. I'm pretty sure I had a concussion. I think the broad in the emergency room thought that I was trying to get painkillers or something. Like, bro, I swear, like the way she was asking me clarifying questions about my quote unquote story that I was telling her is exactly like what I remember from people trying to suss me out when I was lying. And it was, I didn't even really realize it until Madeline pointed it out to me, bro. Like I didn't trust my judgment. So I was just like, this chick's weird, but my head hurts and I'm a little dizzy. Everything seems weird right now. But Madeline pointed it out afterwards. And she was like, I was like, yeah, I hit, Ollie's here.
What's up, Ollie?
What's up, dude? I was like, yeah, my head hurts. She said, did you have your seatbelt on? I said, yeah. She said, did any airbags go off? I said, no. Did you hit your head? Like, no. I think it was just from like the collision of somebody running into my back when he was going like 70 and I was going like 45 and slowing down. And she just kept looking at me like deducing from all those questions. She's just like, you didn't hit your fucking head. And I'm just like, do we need to get like a physics professor in here and like explain like how momentum works or like
I don't want your pills. Can we just get out of here?
Bro, yeah. Like it was so annoying.
That's crazy.
But yeah. And then I did get a check from his insurance company to settle like the medical claims, which is nice because I only had co-pays when it came to the ER and a CAT scan, and like I didn't have to like none of that was like based on a deductible. All of that was 100% covered under my insurance, so I ended up like making out with some money from it.
Always, dude. Everybody hates insurance companies. Go insurance companies. Yo, they pay you quick too. I bet you got it quick.
But if they would have if I would have taken their payment, they would have only paid like $250, $500, because that's all I had to pay. So I could have done that, or I could have been like, yeah, 1,500's great, and then I get the money.
Love it.
Don't know how long we've been going. Quite a little bit, but I'll put timestamps in these. You were talking about come here. You were talking about something with a sponsee of yours before we started. Oh, look at that.
You got some fresh wounds?
No, he's got a tick on him.
Oh.
And we're back. We had a tick break.
What'd you do with it?
Oh, you gotta kill him.
How'd you kill it?
You gotta burn him, cut it in half, do something.
So I always thought like the only way to kill a tick was to burn it.
Oh, you can. That's like the surest way, because their exoskeletons are pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
But like, Madeline gets kind of like maniacal when it comes to ticks. Just like cut it in half with scissors.
So if I get a tick on me, I will not show Lauren or my sister because they will both get paranoid and refuse to walk in grass.
It's like a big thing for
Oh,
them.
really?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, Ollie gets flea and tick medicine, so we never have to worry too much about it. Like, they'll just die.
But he got a freshie.
Yeah, but you gotta...
But yeah, dude, so basically like what we were talking about, before we got started was kind of like a step one topic, all about insanity. So like I'd love to kind of hear and talk about a little bit like your idea of insanity as the steps lay it out, and like just your 2 cents on that.
So insanity is like there's the quintessential definition that like everybody and their mother references now, right? We're like doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And I do like that, but I don't really think it's... I try to speak and define things in the most like zoomed in practical matters that I can, because I to me, if you don't speak to like how, at least if I don't speak to how I experience something or how I think other people will experience it in real time, it can be hard to apply some things. Like this is like a long preface to my answer, but like the way that I talk the way that I talk because when I was convinced of like everything in AA and recovery, spirituality, or whatever like religion that I've looked into or whatever, through hearing things first, and then my experiences would like determine them to be true and give them meaning, and then I would understand what an experience with that saying was. But I feel like it would have been way more beneficial, and like it was really powerful for me. But I think part of the reason why so many people don't get that far is because it needs to be explained in a more practical way, or else like people aren't going to wait around for these experiences. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion. So insanity like is like a temporary like a temporary lapse in like judgment, memory, and understanding of consequences. And like there's probably like a more fine-tuned way that I can say that. In the case of like in the context of like addiction and like character and all that kind of shit that we're talking about. So like, but but also in our context, I believe our insanity is brought about by ourselves. Like it's not like just some inherent thing that I have no, I mean, now we're getting to like philosophical, but like some inherent thing that I can't do anything about, right? Like I can keep myself plugged into my work, like spiritual work and my AA work, and like my acts of service and my prayer life and all of that stuff to keep me from like slipping into that mindset. But it's also not like, it's not a fallback. It's not an excuse. Like, I know the things that I can do to prevent from getting there.
Yeah, like kind of on your point, man. Like I'm thinking back to the way it was explained to me, the way it was experienced, you know, when I was going through the steps. And like, I hear a lot of people in today's world, and probably this has always been this way. They put step one almost in like today's terms. They say things like, I have to practice step one every day. And like, not to split hairs or get like controversial, but like, that's not really the way it was described to me. So the way it was described to me was like, the doctor's opinion, there is a solution, and more about alcoholism. The 3 chapters that really hone in on step one hard in to varying degrees. To me, it was meant to help me understand what led me up to this point.
Okay.
It wasn't something that was meant for me to go forward with from a step one perspective. So like, what I mean is, if I admit that alcoholic insanity has been a part of what got me here, and I'm willing to make a commitment to go through with something, we don't need to talk about that anymore. So it's interesting to me, like, just kind of the step one today kind of a thinking, because I can admit I'm insane and do the same thing.
Right.
I can know that I shouldn't drink and go drink.
Right.
I can, you know, talk about how I need to, you know, accept things and not accept things. So like, to me, it's all about like, and again, this is just my experience. It's like, I just think it was kind of laid out like this. Like, we're going to have this conversation and we're going to come together and relate on like what got us here.
Right.
But once we can agree on what got us here and we check those boxes in a like very, very honest way, we're moving forward. Right. And I don't mean like we go on to step 2, we go on to step 3. I mean, like, and I think this speaks to your point, like, if there's not a commitment made at the end of this that includes me agreeing to make my absolute best effort to not drink or get high one day at a time,
Yeah.
the whole alcoholic insanity step 1 thing doesn't mean much. So like, it's, I don't know, man. As I was talking to you about it, I was thinking about it, that I just don't know how to put understanding my history of alcoholism and addiction into like a today model, because if I can admit what got me here, it only makes sense to commit to change my behavior.
Yeah. I think it's different, like when you talk about like behavior, when it's like the sheer concept of like control over something. Like, I think that's different. Like, and I mean, everybody and their mother knows, like one of the biggest things that we fight in here is the whole ego, right? And people talk about like desires for whatever reason to like drink socially, or be able to like drink at their wedding, or drink at their like kids' graduations, or be able to go out to like work social events, and be able to have a, I don't know, have like a fucking Bud Light when they're watching the birds or whatever, like, and people can't struggle to, like, there's a lot of things that I think that can like lead somebody into a headspace where they end up like practicing the same thing over and over again. But it's just weird because, and like the missing piece is, I think, is a firm understanding of the doctor's opinion. Because that, once I was convinced that just as like clear and concise and as simple as it can be put. Like, alcohol and drugs equals everything that my life was before that, at the very least, in a negative sense, because it will get worse than that. And or you could even just say like drugs and alcohol equals like bad experience 100% of the time, and it's never been anything else than that since it stopped being fun, right? And we all know it's not going to be fun again. And I think people genuinely have a hard time accepting that, like, in my opinion, like, the allergy and the adverse reaction is just something that you have. It's something that I have. Like, I'm convinced it's nothing to, and I share about this in the beginners meeting, like, there's nothing to fix except for me, right? And like things aside from that. But when it comes to being able to drink successfully or use successfully, there's nothing to fix. There's nothing to get rid of. There's nothing to figure out. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to tap into to streamline it and make it like prosperous or anything, like, because it's impossible. It's just bad. It's always going to be bad. There's nothing to fix. There's none of that shit because it just is what it is. 2 + 2 = 4. Me plus substances equals insert any fucking one of the litany of repercussions that I get. And that's just what it is. And I think like the insanity can be like translated or is like synonymous with a like not fully grasping that this is just something you have. And we talk about like the whole disease model, and like I would agree with like my body and mind's reaction to to consuming like a substance. I would agree with that as part of the disease thing. The thinking and the quote unquote insanity and all that other shit, like, no. Like, my mind, unless we're talking about insanity after we're consuming a substance, like once that drink is taken, once that shot is felt or whatever. But before that, it's like I said, if you come in here, you want, if you can say I experienced insanity and that's why I drank, you know enough to have not experienced that. And that's just my opinion. Like, that's not a crutch. It's not like an oops, you know what I mean? Like, you were here long enough to know that you can use that vernacular is applicable to the situation. To me, that means that you know enough to have not have gotten there in the first place. So if we're talking about like the whole zoomed in thing of like the conversation that you had, insanity, like prior to like taking in a substance, I think is like preventable. I swear I've been there before and I was able to get myself out of it. I mean, I say get myself out, but like using prayer, getting back in touch with God if I was out of touch with God, calling people, just all the shit, you know what I mean? All the shit that we talk about. But like after a substance is different. And that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah,
it's a lot, but
it's cool to throw it around with you though, because like this topic in and of itself keeps the treatment industry alive. It keeps a lot of bad shit happening to people. That like you all, I get why we talk about it as much as like you and I have talked about it a lot. I get why we go where we go and talk about it as much as we do, because it's like there's always this like connection that people make individually that leads to something.
Yes.
And it's like I got the sense from what you just said, but my dream was to have the same solution but make different shit happen after I took it.
Okay.
I still wanted to drink or get high.
Yes.
I wanted that solution, but I wanted to figure out how to like not burn my life down.
It's
the dream of every addict and alcoholic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
it's like, all right, I used to do it this way, or I used to kind of do all this stuff and end up in this crazy fucking behavior pattern. I want to still be able to do it, but I want to be able to go this way, job and, fun and money, and like my wife doesn't, or girlfriend doesn't hate me,
Right.
but I just, the part that I find very interesting about it, man, is like, it's two peels back. It's two peels back, right? And it's hard to talk about this because I always have to like talk about it with people, just because this is the only way I know how, that this is more of a solution than a problem. And the solution has become the problem for years now. So like, if you ask somebody why they drink or get high, they're going to sometimes give you all the old reasons. It's fun, and it helps me kind of just like ease up and relax, and I like it at the football game, and I like a couple drinks or whatever before like me and my girlfriend get into it. Like all the old reasons we did the shit. But kind of like you were saying there, that's like sort of over and done. Like
At my end, I didn't know why. The only answer that I could like verbalize was because I feel like I'm gonna die if I don't. Physically.
Yep.
But like mentally and like spiritually, like I had no idea why I was still using.
Yep. Well, like I was able to see in time, not like right away, but like I was able to see that I was chasing an experience that had ended years ago.
Good
Like
for
I
you,
was
dude.
I was able to
Shit.
see like yo, you are not fun to be around. You used to be. Nobody likes you. You're not smooth when you're drinking or getting high. You can barely stay awake. Like I think that took some time of just like hearing other people's stories and
makes
like
sense, man.
like getting honest, but it's just crazy to think how like that topic of insanity to me is like it's all about telling myself it's going to be different, but I just like wanted to harp on the fact that like once I acknowledge alcoholic insanity as the big book would describe it, the only solution I know of is to accept some kind of a commitment and a path forward.
Yeah.
I can't admit it and then kind of just sit back and hope it doesn't get me again. And I think that maybe is like, we talk about this so much, man, like getting going and doing it quick.
Yeah. Yeah. That window of willingness is closing fast. Especially for people these days. And then a lot of times when the window closes, it's just locked forever because they just go out and die.
Yep. And just to throw this out there, this might catapult us into a different kind of conversation, but another interesting thing about the window of willingness is if I don't act within that window of willingness and I go do the thing again and go back down the rabbit hole, there is now a world of professionals and treatment centers that will take me right back in.
This is true.
That are one phone call away.
Oh, everybody talks about, well, I'll get to that in a second. So, like, with the whole thing that we were just talking about, I really think it comes from like a poor job of, or people just not grasping what exactly it is that they suffer from, or maybe they just don't. Maybe they're just not convinced enough. Like maybe they need that experience that the book talks about of like being exposed to the information, having the information like consciously in the forefront of your mind, going to try to prove it wrong, and then just letting it prove itself right anyway by just going out and trying to have a few drinks. It'll prove itself right if you have it or not. And I mean, it's hard to do that with the street drugs, right? But that's another thing. Yeah, I just really think people aren't convinced about having something, and that's why I phrase it that way. Like, it's just something that I have. It's just like, maybe that's why it's so good to say that it's genetic, because that would mean you can't get rid of it. To me, that implies like inheritance, which is like weird for me. But like the alcoholic insanity of like not being able to control my drinking or consumption of whatever, and every single attempt that I have fails. That is like, that's the thing that I'm trying to avoid. And there's things that I can do to avoid that. And I don't know, man. I just think like, I still think that there's this like more clear cut and concise, overarching, like blanketed way of wording the whole thing that just like makes people understand better, other than like just like the allergy, because you kind of have to describe the allergy quite a bit before people understand. um I don't know. But as far as the treatment world goes, um like when everybody thinks about the treatment world, they just think money, right? Money, money, money. But it being so money driven also inadvertently makes it the worst enabler on the planet. It's like the treatment world is my mom before she finally decided to throw me out of the house. Right? Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I still love you. You always have a place to sleep with me. You can come back here. I'll give you 3 hots and a cot every single day. Like, I'll care about you. Like, we can talk about your problems and all that, and I'll help you get better, and then help you get your life right and send you out there, and you'll be a productive member of society. Like, the treatment world literally is that. And you can't tell them to stop because they're making money doing it. Like, it's really hard. And that's why it was really hard for me to work for RCA for as long as I did. Because like, you bring them in and they come in for a quick oil change, you collect a quick buck. All of these, I mean, if anybody's listening that we used to work with, like, God bless you and I love you, but all of these, in my opinion, like, uneducated and misguided teachings from these professionals, because they were told to, they're given like all these guidelines, and like, you can't say this and don't make them feel like that, and you got to kind of coddle them and all that kind of shit. It just like it's almost like it's designed for people to come back. It's crazy. But I always viewed like treatment industry, like a lot of rehabs, as just like a corporate embodiment of an enabler.
It's kind of a really cool way to look at it. Like, did you experience that firsthand? What was the treatment? Was like the treatment?
I slept through 7 days of detox in Miramont, and then AMA'd without hearing anything, and then went back and stayed the whole time because I was homeless and had nowhere else to go, and didn't know that until I was in rehab and my mom came in to visit me to tell me that I was now homeless.
Mm-hmm.
And then went to a recovery house, AWOL'd from the recovery house up at Independence Lodge in Levittown, and went back to my parents' house, and they were still like, yeah, we weren't joking. And then I was homeless for like a week when I had 2 months sober. And that's what convinced me that my problem was that was I was a fucking problem, like, aside from the substances. So like, I didn't really like my experience in rehab. Purely all I remember is having a chance to work on how I interacted with other people. That's mainly what I used rehab for, was to be more open of a person and try to be more sociable. anything other than that. I could tell you a couple people I was in there with, but I don't remember anything that I learned in there. Nothing of use to me, at least.
That was pretty much the exact same way it was for me. It was protection from myself.
Mm-hmm.
It was a hopeful get out of jail free card, which didn't work because I still got the probation violation and
by like 2 weeks in, if you're open to it, dude, it's honestly it's just like a little trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like it's just interesting to me because I never experienced it. The idea of leaving a treatment center knowing you can come right back. I just never experienced that personally, and I know that a lot of people that work in the treatment industry that have some time never experienced it either.
Oh, I can tell you that when I AMA'd, they said that I couldn't be back there for 90 days at Nearmont. Now that was in the spring or winter of 2016. So I don't know what it's like now. After completing treatment, I don't think you could come back until after 30 days or something like that. I could have it flip-flopped. But I know RCA didn't have that. RCA didn't have a what's that called? There's a thing for that.
A readmit policy.
Yeah, I guess that's what.
Yeah.
I know RCA didn't have that. I don't know if Malvern has it or not. But yeah, I think that shit's important.
Yeah, I just think that, it speaks to the bottom a little bit, man, but I wonder if the ease of getting back to a treatment center or a recovery house almost makes the window of willingness more important.
1,000%.
Because the window of willingness is looked at as a pain thing. Like, yo, if you don't jump in and do something in this short little window, you're going to hurt, bud. Like, you're going to get arrested. You're going to overdose. You're going to lose your wife.
Whatever.
But now it's like all that shit's going to happen, but you're also going to get invited back into a cozy bed where you might lose all the momentum you just had.
Yeah.
It's like an extra obstacle almost. I don't know, man.
It's just a scapegoat.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
Yep. But
yeah, I didn't have that. I never viewed rehab as like a fallback because I was a scared. I mean, I was like a scared little 22-year-old. You know what I mean? And the first time was right before I turned 22. I was still 21, and I was way too terrified to even let myself be myself, let alone like let other people experience me. So, like, I was literally like a scared little mama's boy away from home with all of these like drug addicts and alcoholics and strangers. Like, that's how I felt. Like a scared little child, like left alone in like a weird alleyway in the ghetto or some shit. That's how I felt. I mean, way like drastically exaggerated, obviously, and it wasn't reality, but that's how maladjusted out to life I was. That's how ill-equipped I was to like be my own man. And that's how isolated and out of touch I was with the world and everybody in it, and how afraid I was, how out of order I was, and I was in such a bad spot that being anywhere outside of where I was comfortable made me want to kill myself. Like, that's why the whole recovery house thing failed for me at first, until I got into a spot where like I found some, in my opinion, like I don't know if anybody's gonna end up listening to this or whatever, but I just found more personable people in a South Philly alleyway with all these dudes that like were like shooting up like speedballs and like taking their shirts off and running around naked like 2 months prior. They were just like they brought me out of my shell way more successfully, and I don't know why. Maybe that's just like happenstance or timing or whatever, but yeah, dude, rehab was like borderline. I don't want to say traumatic, but it was something that I so didn't want to do that I just didn't make a habit out of it.
So being that that's one of the parts of your story I can relate to the most, the absolute fucking horrors of communal living.
Yeah.
So like forget about the recovery house, because it it definitely sounds like you found your vibe at this house.
Yeah.
But all the times before that in rehab, like, I can totally relate to that feeling, man. I was not good at rehab.
Yeah.
I'd come out of my room in the morning and walk down like the multiple sets of stairs, fucking dread, you know, didn't know I could.
Stairs. That's the good thing about Miramont. It's all one floor.
Yeah. Today Incorporated had like 2 sets of stairs coming down.
Oh, fuck that.
It was like the converted house kind of thing.
Ew.
But dude, like, I absolutely hate communal living. Now, I never experienced like a good recovery house, but like, how do you think that feeling of not being able to connect and be okay in your own skin, do you think that played a big role in like you moving forward? Because I think for me it really did, dude. Like, you know how some people, like, just to give a little context, like, some people can say, like, I don't want to drink or get high anymore. I don't want to go to jail anymore, whatever. I honestly think a big part of getting into the everything that I did was I can't go back to rehab. Like, it was awful for me.
There were like a couple different like a couple. Are you asking like just to not go back to rehab?
No, like so how much did that,
or just to propel going forward?
like, how much do you think that struggle you had with being out of your comfort zone
Right.
and in a place around people, how much do you think that contributed to like the path that you took? Because it seemed like you seem really aware of it, and like it was really an impacting part of like before you got clean and sober.
See, that's a hard question. At first, like my first couple months of sobriety, like in rehab up in Levitt. I mean, I ended up really liking rehab. Like once I opened myself up to it. Like especially the last like after detox, like the 3 weeks I was there, like I made the friends. I had the lunch table to sit at, like all of that kind of shit. But afterwards, it was literally, I was like going about this new path as like a petulant child being ordered to do something by his parents. That's basically exactly what it was. Like, and still like rebelling in my own like fucking pussy kind of ways. Like I wouldn't go out on job search when I was up in Levittown. I would find the spot in the woods, and I would go to Wawa and spend money on this Wawa gift card that my mom gave me to reload because she didn't want to give me money, obviously. And nobody's buying gift cards in Levittown. So I couldn't sell it to get high or whatever. So I would go to Wawa. I would walk there. I would get breakfast and like all this like food and water and just shit that I wanted to have all day, and find a spot in the woods, sit there for 8 hours on my phone, and have a portable charging bank, and just sit in the woods for 8 hours while the house thought that I was on job search. And I did that for so many days because I still didn't want to just have like a normal fucking life. Like I still wanted to just do my thing, what I like to do, and not be inconvenienced by like getting a job and like partaking in all of this shit with all of these guys. And I just didn't want to be a part of it. So what was really propelling me forward in the beginning was just, I felt like my hands were tied and I couldn't really do anything else, because I was also too afraid to be homeless. I didn't think I could really make it. When I was homeless initially, like I was still in my hometown. Like it wasn't anything like crazy. And it was only for like a week. And yeah, what propelled me going forward is like the same thing that propels like a 7-year-old to go do the dishes when his mom tells him. Literally, like that was it. Like, and it was that, like, I was that immature, and it was that profound, and I was that much of like a prissy little brat, like at 22 years old. That's actually like the absolute perfect analogy is like I was a toddler being told to like do a chore. That's what my initial sobriety was like going forward until I got into that house in South Philly and met all of the guys that I thought I was going to meet in rehab when I was scared to go, right? But it turns out like they were actually really cool and just basically told me to get out. They'd be like, "Yo, we're walking to South Philly group, like get dressed, like you're." It also helped that my recovery house owner was a pretty well-known bad guy in his previous life. I'm not gonna like talk too much about that, but and his rule was to do good, and he was the kind of bad guy, quintessential South Philly, quote unquote bad guy, right? I'm sure everybody can like derive like what I'm talking about, and you just didn't want to make this guy angry. Like as soon as you lay eyes on him, like you would know. He's the sweetest fucking dude on the planet now, but you would know. Like you would disappear, 1,000%, like no question, legitimately. So that also was probably a motivator. But then like also once I got to the house and like I felt comfortable, and I knew that like there was no getting out of it, I also kind of like didn't want to feel left out. You know what I mean? It's almost like this it was almost like a FOMO hit me at some point, and I didn't want to miss out on. It was like I was living here, right? I tried to get out of the recovery house thing before, and now I'm just in a different one. This answer is really long. Initially, I was a petulant fucking child. Then once I jived with people, I had a fear of missing out, and then I started experiencing these weird things that were very positive happening in my life, which we talk about when the promises start to come right, which I still think is important to be read at a beginner's meeting, whatever. And then those things started to happen that people would talk about when I was like, when they say, are these extravagant promises? Like me and Mike would look at each other and be like, yeah, dude, kind of.
Yes, they are.
But then they start to happen and you're like, whoa, pump the fucking, like, what is happening? What's going on? All this good shit. And then that starts to motivate you because things are going well. That's like 10 minutes of me talking, but yeah.
Yeah, dude, I definitely had like all roads got shut down as well. Like it looked a little different, but
Oh, of course.
I just like I ran out of options. For me it was just minor legal involvement and nowhere to go.
Right.
And the knowledge that going back to rehab wasn't an option, not only because I hated it, but because I didn't have private insurance. And if Chester County
See, I still have mommy and daddy's.
yeah, if Chester County was paying for my ass to be in there and giving me a nice window of time, and I just roll out and tell them to fuck off, I don't know how that's gonna look next time.
Yeah, not good.
So it's like I just think for me it's the same thing in a different way, man. Like all roads just kind of ran out. Like this rehab jail, go back to the only place that you know people will take you was just what it had to be.
Yeah.
You know. But I can relate to that FOMO of like once you finally fit in with a group, you don't really want to leave that group because like you finally like
They were having fun walking to these meetings that just seemed to be boring as shit. And I didn't want to sit there and exist in the house for like another 6 hours later in the day when they could be sitting there connecting with each other more because they just went outside. You know what I mean? Like all these weird little intricate things that I think about socially, and like I didn't want to be like I was done being the fucking weird guy in the corner. You know what I mean? Because I had that experience in rehab where I just started saying the first shit that came into my head, which is a lot of what I do now. My filter has matured a little bit and like kind of grown and gotten a bit better, maybe. But like, I just didn't want to be like I didn't want to. My experience had showed me that my mind was differentiating myself outside of or away from possible relationships with other people, and I didn't want to do that anymore. My experience had shown me that what my head told me about my possible like inefficiencies in socialization were not true at all.
Just had to find the right crew.
So like once I experienced like a friendship in rehab, I was like, dude, like I don't want to leave, because I had made leaps and fucking bounds to talk to strangers of all different age groups and end up having a connection with them. And I didn't have that. Like all of the friends that I had were from childhood.
Yep.
And like I knew like if I didn't have that again, like it would be very lonely. I didn't want to go back to being lonely. And yeah.
Yeah, I love talking about the beginning, man, because it always looks different. Like every time I think back to the early days, it's always a different story. There's always a different piece that I feel like just kind of helped like
Oh yeah, for sure.
bridge that gap.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like you know how I don't know if you've heard people say this, but like alcoholism is one of the only diseases where your childhood incrementally gets better.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I have heard that.
Yeah, alcoholism is one of the only diseases where like your idea of your parents gets better over time.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I get so much of that, man. It's facts. So,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, Ollie boy?
I understand that sentiment. Well, yeah, I know what you're saying. We spent a lot of time talking about
What time is it?
bullshit. 1802.
18:02. Okay.
Yeah, you gotta get going soon, bud.
Yeah.
So like, you've been flirting with the more traditional religious recently. How's that going?
It's going really good, man.
Yeah.
It's like I think it all started with
Are you gonna remove your tattoos soon?
No.
Or, no.
no. Fuck no. I might
Not
get,
that hardcore.
I might get more.
You thinking like Latter-day Saints or like what are we talking about?
No. It's funny, man, because
You look like a Waco guy. I gotta tell you.
a Waco guy.
You don't know that? You know Waco? David Koresh? You don't know the Waco cult?
No.
Oh, Nicholas.
I've
That's for
wasn't there like
bonus
a
episode. There was like a military standoff.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I forget what. Fuck, I forget. There's a group. There's still groups that talk about like David Koresh as if he was the Messiah.
I'm gonna have to look
Somewhere.
him up now.
Oh, Madeline and I are all into that like weird, different like cult shit. You could probably do well as in Amish. At the Lancaster.
I don't know how if my beard gets long enough to have any street cred or clout.
It's straight enough. They got really straight beards, the Amish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I think I reached a point with spirituality where like I don't know started to get a little bit boring. I always looked at my spiritual path as somebody who just kind of accepted the whole package of what worked.
Yeah.
Letting down ego, opening my mind to all things. I always loved that shit for a long time, but like, you know, I know we've talked about this. Like, I just feel like there's something in like Christianity for me
Okay.
that I'm kind of potentially missing out on.
Okay.
And what's kind of weird about it is like I don't even look at it through a traditional lens.
Right.
I just look at it through like
You just experience what it has to offer, and you don't have the experience that it tells you to have. You just have your own.
Exactly. And what I find hilarious about it is I'm already walking a lot of the concepts, but I have this training that lives in my brain where I'm not supposed to call it those concepts.
Right. Yeah.
It's a very like funny thing.
I view it as like the concepts, not exclusive to anything, because they're so consistent throughout so many different cultures and religions. Like you can't I don't give a fuck about like historically which one came first or whatever. They're a part of all of them, and so I just say eternally. Like they transcend like any kind of categorization level of like religion. You can't put a name on them. They're just like the concepts in my head.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it to me, like I always looked at that as sort of like universal truth. Like if you ask most people, I guess you would have to
I
kind
think
of,
that terminology is important, by the way. Like universal truth.
yeah.
Like I don't think that's used enough. Like I've said like karmic law before, and like that's kind of like the same thing. Like there are dictates and a set of like intangible laws that exist once you start to like get onto that like quote unquote fourth dimension that the big book talks about. And when you start to interact with those, like you start to figure out what they are when it comes to like reciprocation, whether it's like in the material world or in like the intangible world with repercussions that you get in like shame, guilt, remorse, like that kind of like there are laws in that world that you flirt with and interact with even if you're not thinking on that plane of consciousness. And I think that's where like a lot of people miss the boat, and why I love religion and spirituality so much is because it brings that to the forefront. And it's not the same thing. I wouldn't go as far as to call it like a hack, but I think it's like the proper way to like interact with things.
So it's really cool to hear you say that, man, because like I used to look at the rules, if you want to call it that, which most people in today's world don't. I used to look at them as limiting and excluding.
Yes, yeah. That's a good way to put it.
That's the way I looked at it.
Yeah.
It was like if I was exposed to church as a kid, right? Couple different kinds of churches. My mind always heard things that made sense. I just didn't want any part of them.
Right.
They felt limiting and excluding. Now my brain's starting to look at it a lot more like opportunistic, you know, where it's
That's
like
a really good way to put it. I like that.
yeah, like if I actually adopt and follow these rules, because in my true belief they are rules anyway, whether I like it or not. Like for me, there is a way that human beings are probably designed to live at optimal performance and fulfillment.
I would agree. Yeah.
And if I just accept them and embrace them and actually like see the benefit in doing that, like you and I have said it 100 times, dude, like for me, my life gets better. So it's like,
Well, this is why I think the Bible is so important.
yeah,
It talks about a lot of that. And I still piecemeal that even, because that's how free range it is to me, like the religious and like spiritual landscape. And I think that's what turns a lot of people off is, excuse me, because like you said, I guess in like a different ways, you think of it as like exclusionary. It's like all in or not. But I almost think people think a rule of like following the rules is it's either all or nothing, and there's no way you can personalize the experience with the set of rules to make them your own. Not like change them to try to like say things work a certain way when the rules say they don't work that way. But you can still take and leave whatever you want and just make that kind of experience your own as much as you want it to.
yeah, yeah. As long as like some acceptance of the fact that like they're there and they're true is like a thing. Like I don't know, man. I spent so many years trying to be open-minded.
Yeah.
And I would still consider myself open-minded, but I'm almost having this desire to be less open-minded and more dedicated to like a certain path.
Okay.
You know, it's like
I've experienced something similar.
it's like for so long I think that I just sort of took like a very buffet approach. And you know, I just want to clarify, like it's not about names or specific religious sects.
Exactly.
Or it's not about like I belong to this following. But it's about like embracing the spirit of the rule and not the group of people or the ideologies that pushes everybody away. Like almost every time I hear somebody talk about spirituality,
or like a literal translation of a story.
yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Almost every time I hear somebody, like I used to have this experience in RCA a lot where, and I would sort of do your step 2 experiment with them. And just to elaborate, think about and conceptualize a higher power that you would want to seek. But just that simple.
Yeah.
I used to do that experiment with a lot of people. And what I kind of found in 3.5 years of doing that was everybody was divided and distracted in a slew of different ways. But in my like honest observation, everybody wanted the exact same thing. All they wanted was some conceptualization of something, a feeling, a path, a purpose, a something that they could connect with and grow toward. That's what everybody wanted. But like people were always so turned off by experiences that made them feel like they couldn't have that. Like I can't tell you.
All it would take would be like a certain classification of words that would turn them off.
Yes. And their brain says, I don't fit in with this, so therefore I'm pulling back.
What I just described that I want is like AKA God, so no thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, so it's funny, man. Like if I look at my biggest spiritual barriers, intellectual pride is at the top.
Yeah.
I don't want to humble myself down and follow. I'm just not built that way. I've always struggled with that. So intellectual pride is at the top, and I feel like that over the years has made strides. And I just think that like I almost want to close my mind down to just seeing the opportunities in a certain path, like more than I even already have. You know.
We'll talk about this real quick. We got like 15 minutes left for you. You said 6:30, right?
Yeah.
I've experienced this like maybe a conclusion, almost like a curiosity of like I wonder if like the spirituality I've been exposed to in the rooms, in the way that I experienced it, like I don't know if it's the purpose or whatever, or if it's a common experience, but almost made me like practice being unknown to the point where I almost feel like fucking useless. And like, am I ever going to stand for or on anything? Do you know what I mean?
So if I could carefully elaborate, because I kind of like love where my head's going with this. So, and I'm gonna carefully elaborate because I'm gonna kind of talk about like the current world and a lot of the shit that we see go on in the world today, right? But I'm not gonna like jump on any whatever. So I see this thing going on in the world today with a lot of like movements and groups and ideologies where they all have these different posters. You know, we follow this and stand for that, and we follow this and stand for that. But there's this undercurrent that I see with all of them. And what it basically is, the way I experience it is, I do not want to be part of the status quo ever. I don't ever want to be defined. I don't ever want to be affiliated and sort of held accountable to anything. You know, I am a person who can't live within the status quo. Is sort of something that I see in a lot of like the sort of just the social influences out there today.
Okay.
And I think that there is a lot of that to like your that thought you had and your conclusion is like I've had that in my own shit, man. It's like, why am I so like, what do I stand for? Like, why am I so dedicated to just always being so loose with everything?
Yeah, not latching on to anything. I don't know, like not I don't want to, like, giving up so much, like control, to the point where you can feel like, well, what's the fucking point? What can I do? Do I really know anything? You know? Like, is like removing myself more and more and more and more, like, really really useful? Is that really like how I'm going to optimize, like, existence as a whole, like the way that I'm supposed to, like, encounter it? And that was like, when I started to have that more and more, is kind of when I started to look at things differently and have more of, um really latch into, like, a more, what the book talks about, which is like a proper use of the will, rather than just like do like the whole God's will thing, because that's what helped me kind of get back into, like, okay, like, I actually have like principles I can stand on. I can actually have like beliefs that I can stand up for and like fight back on, and not like question like whether or not I'm trying to control another person. And like something that's in the green card I don't think is ever talked about enough, which is like, have the moral stamina to stand for like right, truth, and justice. And but you'll hear so many people just say like, oh, I'm not in the argument, I'm not in the argument business anymore. I'm not going to try to control what you think. I'm not going to try to impose my will on other people. But it's like, I remember like first reading that in the green card, and it was like pretty powerful to me, because and then it quickly like got forgotten, even though, I mean, I read that thing so much it just became like very mundane and redundant, like, back in the day. But like, standing up for something, again, I think there are right and wrong things to stand up for. Like, I'm not trying to make any kind of like political statement with that, right?
Yeah.
But just like doing something for like a belief, and like having an opinion, felt like it was almost anti Ali. It felt like it was almost like anti giving it up to God, and like anti selflessness. Like, that was too much of me, and I couldn't have that. Like, that's where I started to kind of like conflict with the spirituality that I was exposed to in the rooms, at least.
Yeah, man, like the moral stamina piece and the right and wrong and like the truth versus untruth
Yeah.
and like all of that, it's
Which is subjective, which is fine. But like the fact that I can do something and it's not just labeled as like a self-centered act or selfish. Like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a thing.
yep. Yeah, like if dude, it gives me a lot of like questions internally for myself. Like if I want to be a person who believes in and stands for certain principles or things that I'm passionate about, but I am always living this lifestyle where I'm just trying to accept everything and say nothing.
Right.
It gets a little murky.
Yeah.
It's like, well, who am I then? And like, what is the purpose of trying to live by principles and values if I'm just so accepting and kind of just walk around always neutral and in the middle of everything?
Exactly.
It's like what because like when I hear people talk
It
about
almost
like
felt like I was naturally experiencing contradictions for no reason.
yeah. Well, yeah, because like if there's a such thing as truth, there's probably a such thing as untruth.
God, here we go, dude.
So like
Go.
it's funny, man. It's like I guess this is a place that you get to when you start open-minded. Like I kind of know from talking to you a lot, like you started open-minded. You're not the guy at the meetings or in your life who's gonna like bark down somebody with a different opinion. Like you started open-minded. But it's funny, man. Like my sponsor used to tell me something that I now have all different contexts to draw, but he used to always tell me, the road narrows.
Yeah.
And again, I could give you different context for that, but I think spirituality for me is like an area where I'm experiencing that. It's like I kind of want to hone in more. And back to what you said about like sort of being in the middle, like letting go of everything, you know, letting go of myself, deconstructing the ego. Like every once in a while, I go back to this, right? I am still living a human experience.
Yeah, that got lost for me for a while. And
Yep.
like I think everything that I've learned is a great foundation, and I'm not going to unlearn any of it on purpose, at least, right? And I'm not going to throw any of it in the trash, but like it can still I just want to tweak it to where like I'm not just like a fucking bystander to reality. Like just a bystander to what I experience physically with my own eyes. Like I can apply those things in like constructive ways, but still have a fucking presence. You know what I mean? And like not still like keep that intangible like humbleness or humbleness. Keep that intangible like humility in still like and not try to impose a will, but just stand up for like what I think is right, but still be like open-minded and give it up to God enough to where like if it doesn't amount to anything, then I'm cool with it. Like there's like little interactions and like interweavings that like can be had that to me were not really laid out well enough for me. And it was more just like just stand back, be careful, you know, don't make any sudden moves kind of thing, you know? And yeah, it got me to like a kind of so what I'm saying is like that can be intertwined with like other teachings that don't impede on those foundational principles that I've learned and instead are like incorporated with them that I think would like lead to like a better existence for myself.
Yeah, dude, we gotta talk about this more, man, because like I've been on this in a big way, like thinking about it a lot, and off of what you just said right there, right? Like I have this thought sometimes, and it might be like some of JP and like that there's this
Probably, dude. He's fucking everything.
there's this concept where I won't really get into like what it comes from, but I sort of have this thought sometimes, like at what point am I just practicing passivity?
Yes.
Like
I know exactly what you're talking about.
like if I accept and accept and accept and accept, I might wake up one day just a harmless man who's passive to anything and has no human essence.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
And I'll just give the quote, you know, because I might as well.
Yeah.
Like what I wanted to say went way shorter than I thought. You know, like JP and Joe Rogan and
I think I know what you're gonna say.
yeah, all good men are dangerous men.
Yeah. Be
they're-
dangerous.
Yeah, what's the point of being a gardener in a battle or something like that?
You should. Oh fuck! I'm gonna butcher this, but he says it all the time. Like the best men aren't harmless. Like they're monsters that are just able to control themselves or something like that.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
And I see a version of morality today that we'll call it morality. It might be a better way to say it. That almost teaches and encourages passivity to everything.
Right.
And like I'm not saying that I need to be like scolding anybody for their beliefs, man, but I just like back to your point, dude, like what do I stand for? Because like if I just blow around with the wind all the time, dude, like yo, that's gonna hurt me in my marriage. It has.
You haven't watched enough Letterkenny, but there's a recurring line. They have a million recurring lines throughout the show. Dude, I might just have to watch it again because I love that show. It's the most perfect thing ever. There's this recurring quip that they'll say, which is, but some of them are actually true, even though it's like a comedy. If you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that I like the more that I live, like the more that I realize that that's true. I think it's really
Dude,
cool.
it's yeah, man. Like that passivity has hurt me, and by hurt me, like just taught me, humbled me in my marriage, in my career, in my friendships, in my family dealings. It's literally been this topic that's just ricocheted all over my life,
Right.
where it's like I'm accepting and accepting and okaying and accepting. And by accepting, I mean just trying to let other people live their way and do their thing.
Right.
But at a certain point, it's like all I'm doing is zipping my mouth shut and just I almost feel like from a human standpoint, I'm just like retracting backwards. So,
Last thing I have to say about that, like being a monster but being able to control it, is the prerequisite of that is being able to understand your capabilities in a negative light. Like when Jordan Peterson says, like, I'm not going to say a particular thing, but like he talks about all of the messed up things that he thinks that he is capable of doing, not that he would do from a moral standpoint, but something he thinks he is capable of doing. I can go really fucked up with the things that I think I'm capable of. Not from a moral standpoint, but things that I think that I could get myself to do or be led into doing. And that is the monster that you have to acknowledge so you have something to wrestle with, and in wrestling with it is where you find the God thing, right? And that's how like all that thing ties together, is the monster is. And the cool thing about it is in the rooms, the hard part, well, I guess that's subjective. I shouldn't be so quick to say that. The initial part is done. Whether it's hard or easy, like, we'll just throw that away. And it's the part that not a lot of people get to, which is like we end up writing that monster down and like looking at it. Now, I think mine goes way beyond things that I've already done, but that's besides the point. But we're exposed to that in 4 through 7, right? And then in the rest of our days, when I say all roads lead back to 4 and 7, is like we get back to wrestling with that monster every day. And like that's why you and I and everybody else in the rooms that has already been through and practices the steps already knows what that is without like knowing it. It's just worded differently. So we're lucky enough to already have the monster kind of shown, and we're just working out like how to wrestle with it the best, I guess.
it's fire, man, because like think about it, if you have this ego thing, prejudgments, preconceived ideas, and you work to wipe that away over a period of years, years and years, you're still going to want to like probably go forward with the other parts of yourself. Like your values and your passions, and just like your that thing that like makes you. But it's like, it's funny, man, if you're not careful, I'll just keep wiping it all away.
Yeah.
So it's weird, dude. It's like you want to like kind of pull back on the self, but like I don't know, maybe only, I don't want to say only to a certain point, but it's just it's been amazing, man. It's like I want more rules in my life.
Right.
I want the road to narrow to like a little bit more of a specific focus. It's just I'm again, doesn't need to be defined, but like that's kind of where I'm at.
If you don't have a specific game, then you're just fucking wandering.
Yep.
You're never gonna find anything.
Yep.
Never gonna end up anywhere.
Yeah, man.
All right, bud. You got a thing to get to, so we'll close it up quick.
Let's dive more into this though. It doesn't need to be this,
You're
but
gonna need to remember because I'm gonna.
I
forget.
will.
Yeah.
I will.
So that is all the time we have now. We got to get back on a more frequent basis as well. I've been slacking. I've just been so wrapped up in my own shit, but whatever.
That's summer, dude. We got to get a schedule going where we just try to do it every time at the same time each week.
Yeah. Yeah,
you
we'll
know?
try to get it back up to weekly.
Because like all the different things with like the warm weather and it's just,
Yeah.
so.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for Peeling Onions. Until next time, God bless you. We love you. And we hope you heard something that helps you.
Oh. I'm going to be honest.